Well, before you is a Steripen Adventurer, something I had been speaking about for quite some time. A lot of my videos back in Seattle, I really couldn't say enough about the Steripen. It allowed me to purify my water, not filter, but purify my water from many streams in the Washington area, and it allowed me to taste, the fresh runoff, just gorgeous water, without adding any sort of chemical or aftertaste or anything like that, to get in that way of the natural experience, basically, of being up in the wild. Now, I never had a single issue with this, and I know people have. This is sort of the set that I got. It's the old yellow, runs off of two primary CR123s. It did come with the solar kit, which had two rechargeable ones in there. I got to say, I probably, maybe 10% of the time, probably use the rechargeables in there, let alone with this guy. It just was too easy for me to keep a set of extra batteries in case I had an issue with these. And it wasn't for like I was gone for months at a time. So it was always adequate. What I struggled with is nothing else currently right now, any sort of my bug out preps or anything, is really using a whole lot of 123s. I'm really getting away from it. A lot of my preps lately are going to be either a AA, some sort of lithium ion cell, like the 18650, or it's a proprietary USB rechargeable unit. So when Steripen came out with their rechargeable USB, I thought that was going to be kind of the ticket to incorporate in, let alone, added to, my filtering and everything else. And keep in mind, you guys have been following my videos. I have filters for days. I could probably show you here off to the side. I've done videos on the Sawyer and inline kits and you name it. I've gotten away from the hand pump. Most of them are kind of an inline filter unit like the Sawyers, but I still really like the Steripen. And, I really just, I'll put in a clip here of me using it through the winter last year. Those of you guys that watched my zombie mock bug out that I actually won last winter, I'll put the link up there in case you guys didn't see it. But I used it a lot, and a lot of people have had issues with using it in cold weather, cold water, or even water that is very clear and devoid of minerals that sometimes the sensors won't kick on. I've heard all those complaints. I've never run into it. You guys saw in the video. What I have to say is, with the USB, this is called the Steripen Freedom, and with this guy, my biggest issue I had was it wouldn't ever really hold a charge. If I charged it a few days before the trip and then took the trip maybe 3 days after I charged it, it seems like it would always fail on me if I didn't just charge it the night before a trip and then use it for a couple days, which I did in the bug out, and it lasted me through the bug out. But I've had issues where I kept it was charged, I had a trip, I knew I was taking this next weekend, etc. I go on the trip, and sure enough, I have to reach for a backup. And so, for whatever reason, and this may be a defective unit, we'll get to that in a second, but for whatever reason, I just really can't rely on the Freedom version. Like I was saying, this Adventurer has been sitting basically on my shelf for almost 2 years now. I was using other things, or I was testing this one for the last year. And so, sure enough, I didn't store it with the batteries in there. I reached for two brand new Surefire primaries, and I put it in, and bam. I mean, it worked instantly. I have a bunch of videos. I won't put up any links, I guess, for those. I have several. But basically, these two little metal contacts on the side, once it detects that it hits water, you got to turn it on first. Basically, hit it once. This will start blinking. Once it detects it's in water, it'll turn itself on. And you guys can see that's the quartz crystal and the UV light. And you sit there and you spin it around, and it'll blink. Basically, turn itself back to green when it's done. If you get a red light, you've got an error for some reason, like a low voltage. But I reached for the 2 primaries, I put it in this thing, I tested it out, and it worked flawlessly. And has for the last week or so when I've taken a couple trips. So this will be going back. Now, I do have the luxury of, I purchase most of my outdoor gear when I can through REI. So this will be going back. You know, I'll let this run its cycle and come back here in a second. Alright, we'll let that run its course. Now, I wanted to speak to one issue why I think this may be a defective unit. This was just charged yesterday. And when I insert it and the contacts kick on, there's nothing. You can rotate this back and forth and you get a flashlight. Handy. So there is clearly, you know, battery. You're supposed to flip it back and forth 3 times and the flashlight goes off. You know, a handy little thing. But when I go to put it in the water, you can tell it starts to kick on, and then I get this green and red flashing. So, you know, it clearly is not holding a charge, or it's not producing enough voltage for that thing to kick on, and it was just charged yesterday. It may be a defective unit. It is going back. I've lost my faith in it. Whether that's fair to the company or not, I mean, every company is going to have a defective unit. I'm still going to promote the Steripen. I believe it was Patriot 36 had mentioned, I think he or a friend of his had gotten sick off of one, or was maybe ineffective. It does have to be a certain circumstance. This certainly is not going to work, you know, out of muddy puddles and things like that. And I don't know what his circumstance was. I actually don't remember. They do have a proprietary filter system that you can filter, you know, cloudy, turbid water. They do say right on there about, you know, having issues in cold or glacier runoff, or there's, you know, maybe a lack of minerals to set off. So there is an Opti one that uses a light, so it knows it's in the filter instead of those little in the water, excuse me, instead of the metal contacts. But I've never really had an issue. I've never looked back. The only thing I ever wished that the Adventurer had is the fact that it was an oval shape. I wish it was round, so that you could stick it into a canteen bottle upside down, similar to their AA models. So I don't know if I'll get a newer version. I was kind of looking for a secondary one originally, because I wanted to kind of split up some of my kits. But that's the review of the Steripen Freedom for me currently right now. You know, that's just the way it stands. That was the experience I had for the last year, and I thank you for watching.